We're going to learn a lot about the future of this Texas A&M football team over the next few weeks, and I'll tell you why on today's episode of Locked On Aggies.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Happy almost opening day for baseball. I'm a big Cincinnati Reds fan. My parents grew up in Cincinnati. Well, my dad grew up in Cincinnati. So I grew up a big Reds fan. So I'm looking forward to baseball tomorrow. I know that we got a lot of baseball fans here as well. So looking forward to opening day coming up tomorrow. But on the show today, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking a little bit about baseball. Talk about the baseball team. Got a big win yesterday. The Aggies were able to get a midweeker, and hopefully, once again, it's going to be a common theme with this baseball team. We'll talk about the offense, and maybe it gets sparked. If not, it's going to stay ugly. But we're going to get things started today, talking a little bit about spring ball. Oh, in segment 2, we're talking a little bit about quarterback depth. I've got some questions there. But we'll get things started talking about spring ball. And, of course, spring ball is here, and, the spring game's coming up here in a few weeks, and which we still have, unlike some other SEC programs, which it's not something I'm knocking if anyone canceled it. But what I am sitting here and wondering is we're going to find a lot about this football team over the next few weeks. One thing that I've been pretty consistent with over the last 2 months here on Locked On Aggies is talking about how I believe that Texas A&M is still going to do more in the transfer portal the next go-round, and I stick by that. There are a few positions specifically. I think the secondary, I think the defensive line. I think mostly this is a defensive issue. Looking at it right now, what offensive positions do I think that we're going to add a player in the portal? We already hammered tight end. We already hammered receiver. We've got an elite running back room. If you were like, hey, Andrew, we're going to add another offensive lineman or two, I'd be like, okay, I'm cool with that. That works. I can get behind that. But for the most part, this is a defensive issue for the Aggies. I think that it's in all honesty, I think all position groups on the defense. So we're going to figure it out. And I think there's a handful of players that will make or break kind of the decisions on this coaching staff. And so guys like, I think a great example is like DJ Hicks and Albert Regis. Those two guys, I have concerns about depth up the middle on this Texas A&M defensive line. Feel really good about the guys coming off the edge. Everyone you brought in Pimba, Searcy, Hayes, and then obviously we know Cassius Howell is. That kid's pretty good, I think. But feel good about guys, the defensive ends and the edge rushers. I feel good there. My concern is with the interior of this defensive line, and I'm more concerned for this season when it comes to the secondary, but when it comes to do we need to add more players, I'm sitting and looking at the interior of this defensive line and saying, yeah, I think you need another guy or two in there. You obviously brought in Oyenum from Iowa State, and he's a great run stopper. I think he's going to be a great player for the Aggies, have a good season. But there are some guys that I kind of anticipate having that are I think the word would be questionable. I think that there are some questions around this defensive line for Texas A&M. And that's my question. If this defensive line ends up being really good, this football team is going to be really good. Same with the secondary, but that's where I have my depth concerns. My concerns in the secondary are the players any good? I think depth-wise, you're in a pretty good spot. My concern, once again, are the players that you brought in good? You only brought in 2 players in Shaw and Humphrey to come in and help this secondary. And I think that the corners are going to be pretty good with, of course, Will Lee and Humphrey. I've heard some good things so far this week. And you've got some players in that secondary that are going to be good, but that's what I want to learn from the next 2-3 weeks. The portal window opens up. When does that open? Is that soon? Let's look. Spring transfer portal football. I think that opens up April 16th through 25th is what it says. So yeah, that opens up on the 16th. And then our spring game, I keep forgetting what our spring game is. Is it on the 10th? Is that right? I believe it's on the 10th. I'm trying to double check this. But so this is going to give you kind of a look into, all right, let's figure out exactly when this spring game is. I want to make sure I'm right about that. I believe it's on the 10th. I keep forgetting. I've looked this up and I've remembered it and forgotten it about 900 times. But it's the 19th. Okay, 19th, excuse me. So, the portal is going to be open, and that's kind of where we're going to learn. The coaching staff's already going to know, I think, what the spring game, I'll be honest, the spring game, I think, is only for fans. I don't think the coaches are genuinely taking anything away from the spring game. I think that the coaches are taking away from what they've seen over the previous few weeks. So on the 19th, on April 19th, when the spring game's happening, yeah, I'm not buying that the coaching staff's like, we need a guy there. We need, I think that they're already going to know what they need when that portal window opens. Now, this is where I'll be frustrated because those of you, I've discussed this a lot every day or two, know this conversation, but I don't believe that there's a ton. The level of talent in the winter, the right after the season portal window compared to the spring window, to me is not the same. In the spring window, you're getting the players that are buried on other teams' depth charts. So it's like, is a guy that's buried on Georgia's depth chart going to come help me, or a guy buried on Texas Tech's depth chart going to come help me? I'm not sure. There are obviously some cases where some good players hit the portal window in the spring. I'm not saying that there's no such thing as a good player coming in the spring. It does happen. But, I think that those are kind of the types of guys that you get generally. So I will be a little frustrated because we'll know when Texas A&M goes after some guys in the transfer portal. That is when we will know what positions they feel like they need. And I mean, knowing that we've been saying, hey, more defensive linemen for weeks. I mean, I was saying it even when the portal was still open and we hadn't brought in a ton of interior guys. I was saying we need more interior defensive linemen. So I'll be a little bit frustrated if the coaching staff kind of goes, we need some interior defensive linemen now. I'm like, well, I think we should have known that. I mean, I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And I think that right now they might need it and not have it when you could have gotten a couple extra guys and then have it and not need it. And we wouldn't be in this position. So I think that the coaching staff, what they're learning in the spring is what they're going to need in that next portal window. But I also think they're learning about some of the freshmen that are here, how many of those players will have a role. I mean, y'all know I'm not huge into freshmen playing. Especially in the trenches. I do not like true freshmen playing in the trenches. So, I mean, I really want the staff to kind of try and do everything in their power to avoid having to play a bunch of freshmen. So I expect us to go get maybe a player or two in the secondary in this portal window. I expect us to go get perhaps a defensive lineman or two in this portal window. So that'll be interesting, but that's kind of what I'm paying attention to over the next few weeks. And then also the little details. How is Casey Concepcion fitting in? Some of these tight ends. How is it all meshing together? Those are some of the things that I'm paying attention to during spring ball, but I don't think we'll learn a ton from the spring game. I think that's more of just something to get the fans excited, which we're going to have fun talking about. It's going to be exciting, but that's kind of my take on the matter. I want to talk a little bit about the quarterback room. Just had a thought, and it might be a little bit concerning, and I'll tell you why coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I got to tell you about our friends over at Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support for an industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for the trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5. Once again, that's promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Had a thought on the quarterback room. And I have a feeling that this is not going to be a well-liked topic because I think it's going to be, I wouldn't say negative. I'd say it's going to be more alarming. And I'm a little bit alarmed right now. And so hear me out on this. Looking at the quarterback room, those of you everydayers here at Locked On Aggies know that I am all in, bought in, 100% ready to rock and roll when it comes to Marcel Reed. I think Marcel Reed's going to be really, really good. I'm excited about Marcel Reed. I think that he's going to have a special season. I think that he's going to be a player that is going to take his game to the next level. I think that he is going to develop more as a passer, and we've discussed this. This has been a big topic here at Locked On Aggies, has been, can he take his game to the next level? And yeah, I believe he can, but it's definitely something that I am sitting here right now concerned about. So, I mean, when you pull up the current roster for this team, you've got at quarterback, you've got Jacob Zeno, the transfer who, of course, came over from UAB. You've got Marcel Reed, who we believe is going to have a good season. You got Brady Hart, who's coming in. You got Eli Morkos, another freshman. And I mean, I'm a believer in all of these guys. I think that all of these quarterbacks have some upside and have the ability to be good players. And then, of course, kind of the veteran here is when it comes to Hart and Morkos are freshmen. Then you got Miles O'Neill, who's obviously been here for a year, and then Zeno and Reed. So here's my thought on this. And here's my concern. Last year on the roster, you obviously had Jalen Henderson, who was dealing, I forget where he transferred to. I hope best of luck to him. I think he's going to be good. He dealt with some injuries time, but so you had Henderson, you had Wiggs, you had Wigman, and you had Marcel Reed. You had three serviceable quarterbacks. Those of us Texas A&M fans that have been here for a while know that quarterback injuries have been a legitimate problem for a very, 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 very long time now for Texas A&M. I mean, this has been an issue. So, I'm sitting here and looking at this and saying to myself, do we have enough legitimate guys in this Texas A&M quarterback room to feel really good about this season? And that is my concern. That is what I'm worried about. I am worried about how much depth we have in the quarterback room. Because let's just say, God forbid, please no, but let's just say that Marcel Reed does get banged up. And I mean, the sad reality is those that have been watching Texas A&M football for years now know this quarterbacks just get banged up for us. So if Marcel Reed gets banged up, I like Jacob Zeno. I mean, I'm going to pull up numbers on him. I think he's a quarterback that, he can come in and win football games in the SEC. I really do believe that. He has played, my goodness, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years of college football where he's listed with stats, which is just absurd. But he's a veteran. He's done a lot. He played football at Baylor, so he's played, at a big-time program. And then he had a few good years at UAB. He's a quarterback. I mean, 2 years ago in 2023, he was 279 for 379 for a 73.6 completion percentage, 3,126 yards, 20 touchdowns, did have 9 picks. But, I mean, a solid QBR, 155.6. He's a good player, the 6'4", 210-pound veteran from San Antonio. Jacob Zeno is a capable quarterback, but he has got to be a legit backup for this team, or I think that it's safe to say that we are, I wouldn't say in trouble, because this is like making an assumption that there is an injury to Marcel Reed, which, we're never going to sit here and assume that there's going to be an injury to Marcel Reed, but there's just been a lot of banged up quarterbacks. So, and then that's where I get scared. I believe that Zeno's good. I believe that Reed's good, but we've seen, 2 years ago, we saw Henderson, we saw Reed, we saw Wigman, we saw Max Johnson, we saw Warren Moon, it felt like. We saw every single quarterback you could have ever possibly imagine. And, knowing that, just like, how are we going to find a way to keep this room healthy? And then if you were to lose a quarterback or two, how do we feel about Miles O'Neill or Brady Hart or Morcos? It's scary. And I don't want to continue to be like the boogeyman talking about quarterbacks, but like, until we can keep a darn quarterback healthy all season long, it's also scary knowing Marcel Reed's a guy that's going to run the football a lot. He's going to be putting his body on the line, running the ball for this team. So, it's always a little bit scary knowing that. And so I have, my fair share of concerns with this room, but I like Zeno. And I think that the way that you feel about this topic, whether you're with me and you feel good about it, or you're not with me and you're concerned about it, regardless, if Jacob Zeno is good, this depth-wise, I think we're okay. Because Marcel Reed is going to be damn good. Y'all know that I'm bought in on that. I believe it. I think that Marcel Reed's going to have a really good season for this football team next year. I think he's going to be really special. But if he gets banged up, Jacob Zeno's got to be good. And then if he gets banged up, you just kind of scratch your head and go, uh-oh, here we go again. So how concerned are y'all with quarterback depth? Let me know that in the YouTube comments. We're going to move on and talk about the baseball team. They got a midweek win. There were some signs of some things I liked to see when it came to how they scored, when they scored, and all that. So we'll talk about this baseball team. They got a big series coming up this weekend, and we'll break it down right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I got to tell you about our friends over at Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between eating out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I personally started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on silly things like eating out of the house and different things like that. Now I'm budgeting smarter and saving more money. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Also want to show you all the promo for our brand new Locked On and Amazon bracket breakdown, the best coverage of the NCAA tournament you could ever get. And here is the promo for that coming up right here on Locked On Aggies.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
So the baseball game had a midweek game against Houston Christian, and the Aggies win this one 7-2. They out-hit Houston Christian 9-4. Really solid day from Rudis, who 4 hits, 2 runs, 5 strikeouts. Fresh Corn was really good as well. 3 strikeouts, 3 earned runs, 3 innings, not a single hit. And then McCoy was pretty darn good in 3 innings as well, 4 strikeouts. You had 5 walks in this game, which, as y'all know, I'm not a fan of that. But great day from your staff. Then taking a look at the at hitters in this game, you have a total of 9 hits, like I said a minute ago. You get a hit from Hensler, a hit from Jace, 2 hits from Harrison. You get 2 hits from Royo, who was really good in this game. He hits 1 out, of course. Couple doubles. So, at the end of the day, midweek game, you got to win them. Did great to see. This series this weekend at home against the Kentucky Wildcats will, to be honest with you, it'll probably decide if we keep talking about baseball here on Locked On Aggies, because, we're not going to spend our time talking about, no one wants to hear because his team's not good. I think it makes or breaks the season. I think if you lose this series, you get swept, you win 1 game, either of those outcomes, I think this year's done. Unless you pull an Arkansas who made the Sweet 16 after starting 0-5 in SEC play, I just don't see this baseball team recovering from a 1-8 or 0-9 start. I just don't see that happening. So, this series coming up this weekend against Kentucky is going to mean a lot for this team that currently sits 0-6 in conference play. You get things started on Friday against Kentucky, Saturday, and then obviously Sunday you got 3 straight games, and a Kentucky team that has taken a game in both their first 2 series, so they're sitting 2-4. They're hungry. They're in the same situation as you. This is a make or break series for them. If they win and they're 3-3, they go, okay, we're hanging in here. Let's go on a winning streak. Texas A&M, if you win this series or sweep this series, you're not like fully back by any means, but what you are is competing and you're fighting and you're working. So this series, I just think if you start conference play 1-8 or 0-9, I just think it's over. I don't see a way in the world this team is going to come back from that. So really want to see the Aggies go out and take down the Wildcats on the diamond this weekend. And I think that is a realistic possibility. Like, I know that we're worried about this team and we're not feeling good, but they can win this series. And I'm just telling you all, baseball's a momentum game. If you win 1 series, that can be the difference maker. So really want to see this baseball team find a way to win the series this weekend, and perhaps that'll be the turning point. We will talk more about that series coming up on Friday. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank you all so much for being here every single day. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to go check out the bracket breakdown, and we will see y'all next time right here on the Locked On Aggies podcast.